Well, hey everybody, welcome to this edition of the Rich Eisen Show on Zoom. We're adapting, the we being me, and that's Chris Brockman. How are you today, Chris? You good?
Hey, buddy, how's it going over there?
Well, we're sheltered in place here in Los Angeles, which is
Indeed.
it's out of our show studio for the time being. So I figured let's do this show best we can on Zoom. You know, you and I have done a ton of this program throughout the days in different spots where we did a podcast in a corner of NFL Network Studio One. We've done a podcast in a room that has now become, we all see what Around the League is and everything else on the NFL Media Group podcast scene. And we did it in a VO booth, right, Chris, back in the
We
day?
sure did. With a shower curtain, mind you.
And that had the Rich Eisen podcast there, and then obviously last 5+ years in our El Segundo Hacienda as TJ Jefferson, our social media. So, but for the moment, because we're sheltered in place, you in your spot, me in my spot, this is my home office right here. Susie helped jerry rig this whole thing where the laptop's looking at me and there's this reading lamp just lighting me up. How does that look?
You look great. No shine whatsoever, and the beard is strong.
I appreciate it. Yeah, beard game's getting a little strong.
Yeah, I'm going with a quarantine beard myself, so we'll see how long this goes. Yeah.
Okay. So I just figured, let's do this show best we can, as much as we can, and do a smaller version of it and adapt and put it out there on our YouTube and our social media feeds and see what people like. We've got Kurt Warner coming up shortly. He'll be zooming in from his home. And the news is just plentiful in the NFL, where, it's amazing. You take a look at the rest of the world pretty much stopping, and I've talked to a couple of members of the NFL front office scene and some really high up individuals in front offices. And last week it was uneasy for a lot of people to be putting out multiple millions of dollars of contracts to football players at a time where people are wondering about living paycheck to paycheck and wondering if this is tone deaf and wondering if this is something that fans are not appreciating. But I don't know about you, Chris. The number of people have tweeted at me about, this show in particular, and what the NFL scene did last week while we're all sheltered in place. And the state of Michigan was the latest state to announce something like that. I mean, my timeline blew up. I don't know about you.
Yeah, same with me. It's just funny. The world stops, but the NFL world keeps on moving. And I think it was good in a way because it gave us a break from what was going on in the outside world to think about what Tom Brady is going to do. The DeAndre Hopkins trade really set the sports world afire because it was the only thing going on. So we were really able to kind of sink our teeth into all these things and take, a few-hour break from the real world and focus on the NFL world. I welcomed it. I liked it. I thought it was healthy, kind of therapeutic, if you will. And definitely people want that type of content. They want that type of news. And I'm happy that we're able to give everyone an outlet.
Zooming in. And in terms of that, Brady is going to be, from what I'm told, there's going to be an announcement in Tampa tomorrow. I don't know how they're going to do it. Maybe they'll Zoom. Maybe they'll have Tom and Bruce Arians 6 feet apart, 6 to 10 feet apart. I don't know if Brady will be there, but I'm told tomorrow there is going to be an announcement, an official announcement, Tom Brady being a Buccaneer. And thus, on tomorrow's show, we are scheduled to have appear Bruce Arians. We'll be zooming in to talk about everything that we're reading. I mean, you're seeing Rick Stroud out of Tampa, and of course, Peter King putting more meat on bones about Seth Wickersham, too, as you piece everything together as to when things began to potentially fall apart in New England and how it all led up to, from what surprised me based on everybody's reporting, is that Arians and Jason Light, the coach and general manager of Tampa, didn't actually talk to Tom, physically talk to him until Wednesday, which is fascinating to me because Tuesday is when I was sitting on NFL Network, on live NFL Network television, where Jim Trotter's report first came across that the Chargers believed that they were out, barring any change of heart from Brady, that they were out, which left basically Tampa and that the day before Donnie, Brady's agent in Tampa, started talking contract, and this was before any conversation happened between Brady and Arians, and that kind of took me back a little bit, and might actually lend a little bit more credence to the idea that maybe Brady and Peyton Manning spoke. I'd love to dig in a little bit on that, because Peyton knows Bruce Arians, Peyton knows Tom Moore, Peyton knows Clyde Christensen, and Brady apparently, according to all these stories, knew the offense. Like, he broke down all of their plays and all their personnel, as Tom is beyond prepared, and then asked of Arians. The only thing he asked of Arians was the phone numbers of all his new teammates. And I saw that and I'm thinking, LFG, man, Tampa, like, fire the cannons. Like, that's where they really began to think that Brady is going to be a considerable difference maker. But the only question is, will he be able to get this thing into a way, as you can see, it looks like Kurt Warner's zooming in right now, a way to actually get to the Super Bowl, and it's just a fascinating development that I really can't do anything but hope that we'll get to see on the field this fall, based on everything that's going on in the real world. But I honestly believe that this is a considerable difference maker, that you take a team like Tampa, and you take a team like Tampa that was 7-7 last year, and a team like Tampa that almost beat the Texans and Falcons, if not for Jameis Winston's carelessness, one would say, with the football. That team could have been a 10-11 win team last year. And if Brady comes in and takes care of the football and the schedule breaks right, as opposed to last year, maybe they are a 12 win team where, Brady has to stay healthy and all that. But there's one other thing, as I see Kurt's about again to join us here on the show. And then later on, you'll join back again, Chris, when Kurt chimes in. You'll just hop off and then you'll chime back in when Kurt's done. I want to talk about the running backs, Gurley, and of course, Melvin Gordon finding new homes, and then the rest of the news segment. We'll do our regular news segment best we can, and then DelTufo might chime in towards the end of our
okay.
Three of us to hang. But the thing I can't help but notice is that Brady replaces Jameis, right?
Right. Yep.
What was Jameis's last pass as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer?
Was it a touchdown?
It was a pick six.
It was a pick six.
Overtime. What was
just
Tom
like his first career pass?
What was Tom Brady's last pass as a New England Patriot? It's crazy.
That will never, ever sit well with me. Just seeing that picture of Tom signing his contract with his hoodie strings tied really tight, and then his announcement that they're already selling TB12 Tampa Bay shirts. It just looks wrong to me. It doesn't sit well. I'm not sure if I'm ever going to be over it as a Patriots fan, but I am really excited as a football fan to see what Tom Brady is going to look like in Tampa with all these weapons and Bruce Arians. I tweeted it out. If there's a fantasy football season this year, I'm drafting Tom Brady, I'm drafting Godwin and Evans and every single Tampa Bay Buck I can get my hands on, because I think they're going to score 42-plus points every single game.
And I know that Gurley perhaps wanted to go to Atlanta for various reasons, being a Georgia Bulldog and Atlanta wanting him there. One year, $6 million. I'm just wondering why the Bucs didn't, start bidding, like some sort of bidding war where it's just, I'll do 7 million, I'll do 8, I'll do 9. I mean, it Gurley behind Brady with obviously Ronald Jones and everything else that they would have there would be so great. But all right, let's get Kurt on right now. We hop off and we'll get Kurt back on. We'll get Kurt here on this makeshift Zoom edition of the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, there he is, the man, my buddy from NFL Network, NFL Media Group, my Pro Football Hall of Fame friend, Kurt Warner, here on this first ever Zoom edition of the Rich Eisen Show. I just switched views. I'm already getting into it where I can actually push buttons like a director. How are you, Kurt?
I'm doing all right. Family's good. We're all healthy and just hunkering down and trying to get through this like everybody else. So, but it's good to have everybody together and, some quality time, probably more than I've had in a long time. So from that standpoint, I'm just trying to enjoy it.
So are you, did you just get a workout? Am I seeing like fresh off a workout right here, Kurt?
Yeah, well, I got one earlier this morning and then Cade, my middle son, is back from Nebraska, so we just did a little basketball workout before I jumped on. So yeah, just trying to stay active, as you know, just staying busy.
Well, I just started the show by talking about how I think that Brady is going to make this team an 11-12 win team in Tampa. And I'm wondering if you think that's an immediate overreaction. What do you think, Kurt?
No, I don't think it's an immediate overreaction. I mean, I think this was a team that had a chance to win 10 games or so last year, outside of some turnovers by Jameis, as I heard you were talking about. But at the same time, I think you're talking about a team that's in a tough division, first and foremost, and they've got a tough schedule. So although I know Tom Brady and we're enamored by that whole thing and how great Tom has been, it's not an easy road just because you got Tom Brady, even though they've got some good pieces. I mean, I just got the schedule up in front of me. I mean, at home, you got Green Bay, Kansas City, Minnesota, the Saints, obviously the Falcons, Carolina, the Rams, and the Chargers. I don't know who their quarterbacks are, but that's their home schedule. I mean, that's 8 games against teams that were either in the playoffs or vying for the playoffs for the most part last year. So, yeah, I mean, he's obviously, I say an upgrade from the standpoint that I thought Jameis did a lot of really good things last year, but he just got in his way too much. And that's the one thing with Tom Brady, you're not going to turn the ball over. So if you can even get, 3/4 of the production that Jameis had, and you cut those interceptions in about a fourth, what does that mean for this team? You're probably right. They're a 10, 11, 12 win team if everything comes together, and you have to believe they're going to be a little bit better because they were young, especially defensively last year. They're going to be even a little better on that side of the ball than they were.
Well, I'm not, a walk-in Pro Football Focus here, and I don't know, how the percentages change, blah, blah, blah. But you'd have to think with the 30 interceptions, we know a handful of them were pick sixes, but the field flipping that would happen, that would put the defense on their heels. And that defense that Todd Bowles had last year was number one against the rush. I mean, they could just shut people down on the run and make it more of a one-dimensional game. And if Brady can, again, as you say, cut them by 3/4 down to just 1/4 of the number of interceptions, just that alone would cascade and ripple effect on this team that was 7-7 with all of those turnovers from just the quarterback.
I think back to the game that you guys called down in Tampa late in the year against the Texans, who was a playoff team. And, the Texans squeaked that one out. But if it wasn't for a couple early interceptions, the pick six right off the bat by Jameis, and that's what we saw. You mentioned, I think, the last throw that he made in a Tampa uniform. I believe it was against Atlanta, where he threw that pick six in overtime. And again, another game that's right there, with the ability to be had. So I'm with you. But, the thing that we know in this business is that you can't just take last year and then fit it into this year and add pieces. There's so much that has to do with chemistry and timing and figuring out how that works. And as we said, the schedule and other teams, are they going to be better? Atlanta, I mean, you look at Atlanta, you were talking about Todd Gurley. You look at Atlanta's starting offense. Right. They got like 10 guys that were, first-round draft picks. Now, they haven't played that well lately, but I just look at that team and I go, man, this team could explode at any point in time as well. Carolina, what does Teddy Bridgewater bring to the table? We know the Saints are going to be really good. So, again, I think he improves them. But how much and how's the schedule look and how do these other teams shake out? But it gives us something to talk about for sure. And it makes the NFC, I think, really wide open and really tough because there are so many teams and so many quarterbacks over there. It's going to be really fun.
What do you make of the news? Again, Rick Stroud in Tampa, who's been covering the team, reporting, and then in the Peter King's Football Morning in America piece that came out just today, that Bruce Arians and Jason Light hadn't even spoken to Brady till Wednesday. What did you make? So Brady was beginning to lean in Tampa's direction before he even spoke to Arians? What do you make of that?
I think it's a little bit fascinating, but I wonder if you also, when you're going through this process, you feel like Tom Brady had an idea on why he wanted to go different places and why he would consider different places. And, I sit back and I wonder, I'm sure a part of it was football related, but I'm not sure that was the biggest part. I think he wanted to change the scenery. I think he wanted something that was close to his family. Everybody's reporting that, his son is in that New York area. He wanted to stay on the East Coast. So maybe this was one of those situations where he really had a sense very early on when the market shrunk to just a couple teams. Well, I mean, Tampa's my best shot. So I know of Coach Arians. I know Coach Arians. Do I need to really talk to him and have him sell me on the situation? Or is it more big picture and going, what's the best fit for me, regardless of the other stuff? Let me just find the best fit. It's Tampa, and let's go.
Well, I was even, supposing, because that's what we do when we're bored and sitting in shelter in place, that maybe Brady even reached out to Peyton. He and Peyton have seemingly maintained much closer touch than perhaps anybody would let on because of the so-called rivalry for all those years. But, everybody down in Tampa, Peyton's very familiar with, and I'm sure Brady's very familiar with Peyton's mode of offense and whether he could fit in it, right? I mean, and then again, you point out about what happened last year in the game that I called on that Week 16 Saturday in advance of your Bills-Patriots game that you called. And that game where Winston threw a pick six that got called back only to allow the Texans to score, and then a pick six for real the next time. That game, they were in that at the very end. There was no Godwin. There was no Evans in that game. They were literally down to people whose name tags would not needed to be used for Jameis. Yeah. They were in the huddle. That's for real. So I'm just wondering if that might have played a role in it,
Well, I mean, again, I think you can look at the pieces and be excited from that standpoint. I don't think that's a part of it. I think you can look at Bruce Arians' resume, no matter where it's been, whether it's been a coordinator with the Steelers, whether it's been a head coach in Arizona, what he did with Jameis last year. And again, 30-30, but you're looking at Jameis Winston that threw for 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. I mean, I think all the pieces are right out there in front of you. Do I really necessarily need to have a conversation to go, oh, well, yeah, this guy's a good coach, or this guy can help me, or they've got the pieces, that I really wonder if this was more Tom Brady hunkering down with his family. Here's the market. Here's the teams. I believe I can win anywhere. I think I can be successful anywhere. What's the best fit for us? And, maybe that's part of why he didn't really have to do the extensive traveling and, and talk to a bunch of people, because it was bigger than that. It was bigger than, than just what team gives me the best chance to win. Where's the right fit for me and my family? Because you have to believe that's why this move was made as much as anything. It was just time to move the family, go somewhere else, try something new. And it just seems like Tampa was the best fit.
So, well, in the few minutes we have left here, let's hit some other quarterback situations here. Man, I just can't believe that Cam might have to look at accepting a backup role somewhere to prove that his foot's fine or to prove something. And obviously what it's like to be a Super Bowl winning, as opposed to he went to one Super Bowl quarterback, just purely identified with one organization, and then have to find a new way. I wonder what you think is going on in Cam's mind right now, Kurt.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's fascinating. As you said, I was in a very similar situation. Won 2 MVPs, went to 2 Super Bowls, and then the perception was out there when the Rams released me that I was damaged goods, right? That I couldn't play, I couldn't be the same quarterback I was before. And that's a tough place to be, because as you know, in this business, perception is reality. What is out there and what people think, the shoulder, the foot, he can't be the same guy. People believe that. And so it becomes a show me, what have you done for me lately type league. And that's why I had to take that stint with the Giants, was just to try to prove to people, because it was really the only shot I could find of being a starting quarterback, knowing that they were drafting Eli, being a starting quarterback in hopes to prove in that one season, hey, I can still play this game, and parlay that into another starting job. And so, you look at Cam, and I have to believe everybody's looking at it that way. And I think it's twofold with Cam as well, too, because not only the injuries and is he going to be healthy, but he was such a different type of quarterback, the running quarterback, the power quarterback, the ability to run in those short yardage situations, not necessarily a true drop back quarterback. And so I think the other facet of this is teams looking and going, okay, if we do get Cam, and even if he's healthy, can he be that Cam Newton again? Or now is he more relegated to being a drop back passer? And if so, what kind of drop back pass, what kind of player will he be if he's more fit into that role? And so I think there's just a whole bunch of questions with that. But that being said, our league is in a good place quarterback wise, but this is Cam Newton too. And he is a special beast. And yeah, he might have to go to a place where it looks like they've got a guy as a starter, or he's going to have to compete for it. But that's what we do as competitors, right? That's what we do is, yeah, it's nice to have the job given to you. But there's something about going in and saying, hey, just give me a chance and I will prove to you who I am and what I can be. And it sure looks like that's probably going to be Cam's situation outside of maybe, does New England take a shot to go that route, even though they've got a young guy and kind of the same thing. Jarrett's not ready yet. Let's bring in a Cam Newton and see what we get for a year. If we can get 2 or 3 years out of this guy, the special player he was, then we have that backup plan. I don't know. I'm fascinated, because Jameis too. Jameis is open now. Guy just threw for 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. I mean, he did a lot of good things last year. Look at, the Chargers. I mean, great situation with a lot of weapons. Is Tyrod the right guy to be able to utilize all those weapons, although he probably won't make the mistakes? But I'm fascinated by a couple of these situations and how it's going to play out. Andy Dalton is another guy that I'm a huge fan of. May not have the upside of some of these quarterbacks, but he does a lot of things really, really well. And in the right fit with a good team around him, he's definitely a playoff quarterback. He's shown us that too. So what route do they go with Andy Dalton? And there's only a handful of teams, a few teams out there that really need a quarterback, even from a competitive standpoint, that again, I'm fascinated. We've had a lot of moves in free agency, but I'm really fascinated what happens with these quarterbacks.
Well, I'm wondering with the signing of Hoyer in New England, I'm wondering if Belichick is sitting back and letting the market come to him. By that, I mean, let the draft happen. Let's see what happens in the draft, because I'm assuming the Chargers' move here is let's keep Tyrod Taylor here. He's a veteran who's been in the playoffs before. He did that with the Bills, although they were points challenged in that game against Jacksonville, to say the least. But maybe just sitting back and letting the market come to him by saying, let's see who takes the quarterback. The Chargers will take their quarterback. The Dolphins will take their quarterback. I think they're definitely going to take Tua, which means Josh Rosen might pop free. The Bengals will obviously take their quarterback. Won't be able to, one would think, keep Burrow and Dalton, although Dalton would be a great guy to have on your team, to have Burrow mentor by him, although I don't know how much he wants to play the role of Mr. Chips. I'm just wondering what Belichick is doing right there, because I think I know what the Chargers like. Hey, let's go, shoot our shot with Brady. That's the only way that would take us out of our plan of let's stick with Taylor, go draft somebody. But I'm wondering if that's what Belichick's plan is by hiring Hoyer right now to get in that meeting room with Stidham.
I would not be surprised in the least bit if they believe Stidham is the next guy. I think that's really the question. And, you hear the good signs and what they saw. They truly believe he's the next guy, then I wouldn't be surprised at all, because you have to believe you can get one of these veteran guys. And if you can get 1 or 2 years out of them to play and be that stopgap, believing you've got your future, and if it happens sooner, it happens sooner, that would be the perfect mix. And as you said, these other teams that need one, Tyrod Taylor and the Chargers, that's probably not your long-term fix, right?
Right.
So what do? I can't imagine them go and sign Cam for a long-term deal. Jameis, I think is an interesting, because he's a young guy still, and he's done some really good things. Where does he end up? I think that's a key piece in this whole thing. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Chargers sitting in the right spot, going, hey man, maybe we can get up there and get Tua and have our guy for the future, and how that plays out. And because the fact that, like you said, there's 3 veterans. If we talk about those guys, Jameis, Cam, and Andy Dalton. If you're Bill Belichick, you're going, I can win with those guys. I mean, I had one of the best defenses in the league last year.
Right.
You give me one of those guys, we will be successful, and we still have our plan moving forward. So, yeah, I would not be surprised by that in the least bit if he just kind of waited this out and see if even if these quarterbacks will sign before the draft. I mean, do you think that those quarterbacks will go off the board before the draft, or it will be let's wait and see who we get if we're those other teams, and then then we'll go get the veteran.
Well, maybe they won't, because as in the world we're living in right now, there's not going to be any off-season workouts. There's not going to be any places opening for business in April and handing off the playbook to people then because of COVID-19. And I've said now, anybody that signs, like Philip, in my mind, Philip Rivers should have the playbook in his hand right now, because the only reason why you're holding a playbook off from players in March is usually the reason for this is to take the pressure off of the players. And from being made to feel like they're less than a good teammate because they're not studying all the time, or that they're being pressured by management to come in. There needs to be just this regular cooling off period, but now we're all being cooled off. I think they should give them the playbook right then and there, but I don't want to go down that wormhole. But so I don't think these guys will sign right now. Maybe they should sit back and wait. And in terms of Jameis, and then I just want to move on to one more quarterback situation with you. Peter King came on the show a couple weeks ago and threw the Steelers out there, that maybe Jameis signs with the Steelers. He's their quarterback of the future. If Ben isn't ready this year, and he looks like he's part of the Duck Dynasty cast, as we saw over the last couple of days, and that if he's not ready to go, maybe Jameis is the guy, since we saw them play musical chairs with Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges wasn't working out, that maybe that might not be a bad spot for him to land in Pittsburgh.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, because, these teams have to start thinking of that next plan. I mean, Ben, I think, has 2 more years on his contract. And with the injury, I mean, he just probably not going to play beyond that, but who knows? So, yeah, I mean, I think Jameis is fascinating, because Jameis has done so many good things in this league. And everybody just looks at him and goes, well, if we can just eliminate the interceptions. Now, we've seen plenty of guys that we've said that throughout their entire career, and they never get to that point. But that's why he's so intriguing, because he does so many good things. I mean, I watch all the film every week, and he makes more throws and more big-time decisions than most quarterbacks in this league. And it excites me every time I watch him or I talk to him about it. But it just, again, you got to at some point be able to delineate between what's a good attempt and what's a bad attempt. And he just hasn't figured that out yet. And, a team like the Steelers or somebody else, I think, has to be intrigued by that, especially if they don't have to pay him big dollars, right, and go, man, maybe we can be that guy. Maybe we can be that team. Maybe he can mature. Maybe he can work through it. But if we're not tied in for the long term, I think it's very intriguing for, one of these teams that knows their guy is probably moving closer to retirement. The Saints. And I know Taysom Hill might be their guy for the future, but, Drew's got a couple more years. And then, could he learn from Jameis? Could he, become that next guy? Again, to me, one of the most fascinating, parts of this kind of free agency with the quarterback position.
Last one for you. Put you in another position that you've been in your life. Super Bowl MVP, on going to yet another team, and needing to either mentor or push or displace a highly drafted quarterback. Yours was Matt Leinart. Now I'm talking about Nick Foles showing up in Chicago. It's amazing. 1 year after he was a huge free agent signing in Jacksonville, hitting the jackpot for him, well-deserved. Yeah. Now he's traded for a 4th-round compensatory pick on the next new league year to Chicago. What in the world do you think Nick Foles' role is in Chicago right now?
Well, fascinating, because they've got a great situation, I think, for Nick Foles. Nick Foles, to me, I'm not sure he's the guy that, made the $30 million. I'm not sure he's the guy that you go, here, go throw the ball 35, 40 times for us and win games for us with your right arm. That's never really been him. He's been a good leader. He's been able to manage games extremely well. For whatever reason, he's a leader. He's able to get the best out of the team around him. So it fascinates me with the Chicago team. It's got a great defense, is going to be in most games, and they need a guy to come in and lead, make the plays they're supposed to make, not have to do anything special. Yet they've got this young quarterback that they, went up and got and put a lot into, that's really struggled. I think this is really going to be one of those situations where I think you find out a lot about players when you bring a guy in to look over their shoulder that everybody knows can play, everybody knows is a leader, to see how you respond to that. What is Mitch Trubisky going to do? I believe he goes in as the starter, but I think Nick is going to push him in every way, shape, or form, and just more than anything, be a presence right there to say, hey, you mess up, I got this. I got this, and I can run with this. And so I think we're really going to see who Mitch Trubisky is. This is one of those things that can either catapult guys forward and allow them to become a competitor and learn how to play at this level, or guys shrink and they worry about every mistake and they worry about every throw, and it starts to eat them up. And I really think that's what Chicago said, is that we're going to bring in a guy that we know we can win with and we know that can lead our organization. We still want Mitch to be that guy, but we are going to put the pressure on him to see which way he goes.
Well, I mean, that's the one thing, and I'll just ask, then we'll end it with this, is what does it mean push? Because if he was the second overall selection that they wanted him to be, he wouldn't need to be pushed. They wouldn't have to bring in somebody to push him, right? I mean, isn't this some sort of admission that it's not working out? What does that mean by push?
No, right.
I mean,
no, I don't think there's any question. It's an indication that it's not working the way they want it to work. But as I said, there's times when you're in a situation where you kind of know you're the guy. And regardless of what happens, you look behind you and you go, they're not giving the reins to that guy. That's not the guy that's going to lead them into the future. Not that the player behind me isn't good, but that's not what's going to happen. And so you can get that, sense of security where it's kind of like, I got this, no matter if I screw up or whatever. Pushing to me is going, okay, we just brought somebody in to let you know that is not the case anymore. We just brought in a Super Bowl MVP, a Super Bowl champion that came in as a backup and led his team to the Super Bowl. This is it. This is your chance to prove it. And I don't believe he's got a very long leash now. Whereas I believe the past couple years, because of how it played out, and more importantly, who the guy was behind him, that he knew and everybody knew, we just got to go down this path and we got to see we're going to take what we get, but we have nowhere else to go. Now Chicago's saying we got somewhere else to go, and we want it to be him, and they don't want to be wrong, but at the same time, they've got a backup plan. And that to me is pushing that. Again, every throw that Mitch makes in training camp is going to be weighed against everything that Nick Foles does. And Mitch knows that. And that's to me, it's the fascinating part when you get in there is, what do you do in those situations? When you screw up, can you let that go and not worry about what's behind you and make the next throw? Or does one bad throw turn to a next, and it starts to show who you're probably going to be under those pressure situations?
All right. Thanks for doing this, Kurt. You're our first Zoom guest in the history of the Rich Eisen Show. And you're going to be the first of, I assume, many that are going to be Zooming in from their home office. So I'm going to make this a little bit of an end part of those segments. Behind you, walk me through that. That looks like an ESPY next to Walter Payton Man of the Year award, right? I mean, am I correct? Is that what it is up there?
Gosh, I don't know what you see up there. So
if you go to your left,
looking here,
up all the way to the left up there, that looks like is that your Walter Payton Man of the Year award right there? Is that what that is?
Right there. No, that's an Athletes in Action. That is an ESPY.
All right.
That's obviously the MVP trophy. Super Bowl MVP. This is the MVP quarterback club. I don't know. Sorry, I had to go up and read them. I wasn't really sure what was up there.
Okay.
They've been up there for a while, but yeah.
That's the ultimate.
Hey, thanks for mentioning that. Make me feel relevant again. It's like Mooch. As long as you don't come and try to take him out of my office, make me feel relevant.
Yeah. Okay. And that helmet. That's I see. There's one up there, right? What is that helmet? That's right there.
The silver one has there's a cardinal emblem on it, so it's just cool.
Yeah.
The other one over there is just a Super Bowl helmet. It's signed by a couple people. I'm not sure who signed it. So, yeah, I guess it's my little shrine here in my office.
I got books.
You just got books?
Yeah.
I mean,
here's another pair of glasses.
Well, come on, we got to pump that up a little bit. Come on.
I got
this Zoom TV show that you're doing is gonna win an award. And then we're going to get you an Emmy for hosting our show here this year, and all the coverage that you did, throughout the off season. It's time. We got to load that thing up with some awards. If not, you can have a couple of mine. We'll put them behind you, and we'll make it look really, really good.
All right. Best of Brenda and your family, man. Stay safe and healthy. Thanks for doing this, Kurt.
Same to you. Best to the kids and the fam. Tell Suze we said hello. Hello.
You got it, buddy. Take it easy. That's
All right, buddy.
right here on this edition of the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, Chris Brockman rejoining. It was a fun chat with Kurt, man. I had, I decided that every single time somebody joins from their home office, I'm going to ask them about what's behind them.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And Kurt, I'm like, is that your Walter Payton Man of the Year award next to an ESPY? And he walked up and went straight down the row of impressive award after another. And, that's the best thing about Kurt. He's a humble bragger, man. I mean, he's a very humble guy, but he can humble brag very, very well because he's Kurt Warner. No one's ever going to accuse him of doing anything other than being Kurt Warner, right? But it was great. You'll check that out later.
Yeah, of course.
Again, what we're planning on doing for everybody out there that's a regular viewer of our show, and if this is for some reason the first time you've taken in our show, interviews and everything that we do is on our YouTube page at youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show. Please subscribe. Go down a wormhole. 5+ years in our Los Angeles studio that we can't wait to get back into and continue doing our show live on YouTube every day. And our podcast on Podcast One. We've got on Sirius XM radio. We got all sorts of ways for you to follow us and terrestrial radio as well. But bottom line is our interviews are all going to be on youtube.com, and Chris Brockman gives us the news right now without your drop. No Tom Brokaw dressing.
Oh, man.
That, but let's look at some other headlines right here in the sports world from the weekend, as well as what's going on in the real world that's affecting the sports world. You have the floor on a couple items.
Yeah, totally. Let's talk about Todd Gurley, Rich. You mentioned he did sign with the Atlanta Falcons, goes back home. Of course, he was a Georgia Bulldog. 1 year, $6 million contract now. He's only 25 years old. He's younger than Ronald Jones in Tampa by 2 years. Does this contract length shock you? Does the money shock you? I'm pretty surprised only a 1 year deal, to be honest.
Well, I just don't know. Again, Chris, we keep talking about throughout the history of our show, the great mysteries of the Super Bowl. Will we ever know why Marshawn didn't get the ball? Will we ever know why Malcolm Butler only played one snap in the Super Bowl loss to the Eagles for the Patriots? Will we know what's up with Todd Gurley's knee? I mean, and it can't be degenerative enough that the Falcons sign him for 1 year, $6 million, when at some point I'm assuming he will pass a physical. And then so I guess this might be just a 1 year prove it deal, but it just shows you again, in the same way that I said this last week when it came to Cam Newton and being the man in Carolina for as many years that he was the man, and then a new owner comes in, a new coach comes in, and he gets hurt back-to-back years of the shoulder, then a foot. Any player that wants his and does what he does to get his needs to be allowed to do it without your complaining about it, without me complaining about it, without you, and I'll point to my camera, the fans of this show or anybody out there. Period. End of story. Zeke went to Cabo exactly for his money and prevent becoming this guy. Again, it's a physical thing, one believes. The reason why Gurley is no longer with the Rams, part of it is they owed him $10.5 million, and that was the end of that. He got released so that he didn't have to be paid that money. But that's another thing, is that he signed that contract to get that money, and then the team's allowed to, in every way, for their reasons, and it's contractually allowed, to just depart from the relationship.
But you're talking about a guy 2 years ago who was in the MVP discussion. He was Offensive Player of the Year. He was the face of a Rams franchise that is opening a new stadium right down the street from where we do our show every day. And now, gone.
Exactly.
Out to the Falcons.
I know. And the conversation when Gurley was drafted 10th overall, coming off of a big knee injury by the Rams, was, will he be a second contract guy? Is he just going to be just this one contract? Will his viability be done by his second contract? Well, this is technically his third. And by the time his second contract hit, he wasn't the bell cow. I mean, he was up until week 12 of the NFL season that year that the Rams made the Super Bowl, and that Monday night game against the Chiefs that went on tilt offensively, that one made us all wonder if it was the death of defense. And then the Rams made the Super Bowl and didn't score a touchdown. I mean, only one touchdown in the game between the Patriots and the Rams. Again, that's the point. This is why Derrick Henry might hold out instead of signing his franchise tender if things go normally this summer with COVID-19, and also why Devontae Freeman, who Gurley is replacing, wanted to get his when he could get his. If you're a running back, and I'm sure you're going to be leading to Melvin Gordon next, he's a perfect example. You need to make sure that you get yours, and if you're offered yours, you might not want to think twice about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's crazy that we give these guys grief for trying to get their money when the shelf life is so small.
I'll hop to it too. I mean, Melvin Gordon, right? 1 year.
Looks like 2 years, $16 million with Denver.
Right. And he was offered $10 million per by the Chargers last year.
Yes, turn it down.
Take it or leave it. He's a good guy, man. And by the way, I love that signing. I absolutely love that signing by Denver.
Especially when you have a rookie quarterback, well, essentially a rookie quarterback and Drew Lock taking over.
Him and Phillip Lindsay and the rest of them are maybe the deepest running back core in the NFL. I don't think I'm saying that lightly, where you can put a whole bunch of guys on the field.
Right.
I mean, Phillip Lindsay is a dynamo, and now here comes Melvin Gordon, if healthy. That is a great addition. And the only other the small and in terms of what he cost is tremendous. He knows the division. When he goes against the Chargers twice a year, he's going to have that chip on his shoulder. And another signing that I particularly loved was the Saints signing Emmanuel Sanders. I thought, dynamite. I thought that
right,
dynamite. You got obviously Mr. Catch Everything, can't guard Mike on one side. They needed another receiver. You got a veteran that still can get deep and knows how to win and knows. I mean, I got to ask this question. Do we, with Gurley moving into the South, Brady moving
Is the South now the best division? I mean, we just asked it a couple days ago.
I know, and I was so adamant about the West. I think Emmanuel Sanders being signed by the Saints, dynamite. I love that signing. It's one of my favorite signings of the entire 2020 new league year. I think he's going to be amazing, and him and Breeze are just going to be two veterans that are connected like the Matrix, with Sean Payton, who I hope gets better very soon, dialing it all up. I love it. I love that signing immensely. Love it.
Just think about Tampa versus New Orleans twice.
I know.
With Tom Brady now versus Drew Brees and all these crazy weapons. Man, I just, my mind is going nuts just thinking about that game.
Right. What else you got?
Just a couple other things. The Patriots are bringing back Brian Hoyer, cut by the Colts over the weekend. It's just a 1-year deal. Pat's going to pay him a little over $1 million. He'll make $1 million from Indianapolis. But the thing here is, and when we talked to Tom Curran last week, he said he expects Jarrett Stidham to be the Patriots starting quarterback in 2020. Brian Hoyer is going to New England with the impression that he is going to compete for that starting job, which is absolutely crazy now that the Patriots are hitting the reset button at the quarterback position.
You can't like that at all. You can't.
I don't like that one bit. Just watching Hoyer fill in for Jacoby Brissett last year, it was clear that he cannot play at a high level or really at a starting level in this league anymore. And then there's the report from The Athletic that Andy Dalton has not been discussed inside the Patriots building, which I think if you're going to bring in a veteran who can teach a young guy like Jarrett Stidham, I mean, I consider Stidham basically Dalton 2.0. They're kind of the same type of player. I don't understand the Andy Dalton hate. I really never have. He's a Pro Bowler. He's a playoff quarterback. He hasn't won in the playoffs, but he led a team to the playoffs multiple times, 4,000-yard passer. And you think you hook him up with an offensive mind like Josh McDaniels. Obviously, the Patriots defense is going to be there. I think he's the perfect fit for New England while Stidham comes along.
Let me just bounce off of you what I told Kurt Warner moments ago. I know you weren't privy to the conversation, but I think Belichick's letting the market come to him. Instead of going out right now and jumping on Cam and saying this is what we're going to do, or jumping on Jameis and saying this is what we're going to do, that he's just, he knows Stidham, he knows him very well, he knows Hoyer, he knows him very well. I'm just wondering if, it'll be cheaper to get Dalton once Burrow gets drafted. It'll be cheaper to get Rosen once once Tua gets drafted. It'll be cheaper to get somebody else once the numbers are of seats that are open, and then Bill's just going to let things come to him. And the Chargers, again, it's clear they're going to draft somebody 6th overall. That is an absolute for sure.
Yep.
To me. That's what's going to happen now. And for sure, the Dolphins are going to draft somebody sitting wherever they are, 5th or 3rd overall. I think you're going to have no choice but to hop up. New England's just going to sit back, and I'm wondering what Jacksonville's going to do too, because Gardner Minshew last year, when he was quarterbacking the team, and the Minshew mania was terrific, there were still sort of conversations about, does he have an NFL arm down the field? Does he have something that can be sustained over 16 games? In the same way, again, that Tebow is discussed. I know they're different guys, but is his game sustainable over 16 games? I'm curious as to what Jacksonville's going to do, and who likes whom, in the 2nd, 3rd round of the draft. And I'll just come back to this too. Who mentioned the other day about Jalen Hurts for New England when they came on our show? Somebody mentioned him.
Oh, was it Tom Curran?
Drop that nugget. Somebody dropped that nugget last week, and I loved it. I think that's, that is an excellent nugget drop right there, and we should pay attention that New England might draft somebody too. It's all part of a piece of a puzzle. That's part of the reason why I don't think Bill's jumping at anybody right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a quarterback-driven league, and you mentioned Bill letting the market come to him. That's kind of what he's done his whole run here is player personnel in charge there in New England. He lets guys go out, see what the market bears, and then come back to him, and then he adjusts and moves forward. Some other signings across the league. Looks like Dontari Poe is going to go to the Cowboys. The Panthers bring in another quarterback, sign this kid P.J. Walker, who tore up the XFL for Houston. And the Falcons sign another first-round pick to their offense. Laquan Treadwell goes down to Atlanta as well. They now have, I saw a tweet, 10 of their 11 starters on offense are first-round picks.
Hey, man, just keep going to the premium bin and see who might actually be sustainable, who's reclaimable, I guess.
Yeah.
Laquan Treadwell came out of Ole Miss and, went to Minnesota and basically just couldn't learn the playbook. And
couldn't get it going,
tried him out, and we'll see what Atlanta can do. Let's just put it this way. I don't think Laquan Treadwell's addition is moving the needle on whether I think the NFC South is the most difficult division to win in the NFL right now.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. That's totally fair. Yeah, just a few more things here. The LA Times is reporting the NFL draft is no longer going to be held in Las Vegas at all. The draft is going to go down next month, but it's expected to move forward in a studio setting. As you know, it's going to cut 2 teams' headquarters as they make their picks. Still going to happen April 23rd to the 25th.
Well, the question is how many places are going to be in shelter in place? I mean, I've been told the 49ers have not been in their facility for quite some time, as Santa Clara was one of the first towns that declared. If you recall, the San Jose Sharks were the first NHL team to have home games postponed due to COVID-19 because Santa Clara and the area surrounding it in San Jose were one of the first counties to basically say everybody stay at home. So the question is, like, if certain NFL facilities have the ability to use their certain teams have the ability to use their facilities and their big board, and everybody else is doing what we're doing, zooming in together. How is that competitively balanced? I mean, that is something that's being discussed right now by the competition committee, I think, as we are zooming right now, Chris. Mm-hmm. And but in terms of the draft being done as a television product, we at NFL Network, we're sheltering in place. I believe NFL Network has ceased production operations for the next few weeks, and LA is sheltering in place till April 19th, which is a few days before the draft. So if all goes well, if we can all just stay at home best we can and make sure that the spread of this awful virus does not succumb all of our healthcare officials, then maybe we can get back to normal sooner rather than later. But I feel like I'm on a broken record right there. And then the Olympics just got canceled, right?
Yeah. So Dick Pound, who is a member of the IOC, he told USA Today and Christine Brennan that the Tokyo Games is going to be postponed due to the coronavirus. Basically, he said the parameters going forward have not been determined, but the games are not going to start on July 24th. He said he does expect the games to take place sometime in 2021.
Man, that's the summer, and if obviously that's happening right now, you have to wonder if the same conversations are going on in the NFL about training camp. I mean, we just had
Yeah.
Kurt on right now talking about how Foles and Trubisky is going to be an intense competition because every Trubisky throw made in training camp will be measured against Foles. I don't know if that sort of conversation is just a pipe dream right now. I hope it's not. But in order for a country to plan for the Olympics and get ready and prep for the Olympics while also fighting this virus, in other countries, I guess Canada and Australia had already announced earlier today, right, that they weren't going to send a delegation. Once that sort of happens, it's similar to Duke saying we're not going to we're not going to the NCAA tournament. Everybody just stay safe, stay healthy, stay at home if you can, and let's fight this thing, man. Let's just get through this as fast as we can. Damn it. That's some awful news. I did not know that. Thank you for your news update, sir. Now let's finish with I would say intermezzo is a palate cleanser, but this is the end, I guess, the dessert, the Mike DelTufo dessert. Hang on. Okay, so Mike DelTufo says he's zooming in right now. He told me earlier, Chris, that he knows Zoom. He's been on Zoom. He's been he's been talking to his family on Zoom, and he has a special headset and speaking situation. And I guess obviously a full screen announcing his. Look how he's got a still photograph.
Look at that toothy grin.
Look at that.
Unbelievable. Are you kidding me?
The whole setup. He's connecting to audio. This is so suspenseful right now. I can't wait. Look at the setup.
I mean,
look at this.
I'm glad that everyone is seeing this.
Mike, you there?
Yeah, I took a job as a sub commander for the Russian army.
Are you hunting for Red October? What are you doing?
Yeah, this is my hat I wore. You don't remember this thing? I wore this once in Minnesota. I'm gonna take it off.
This is even better. This is even better. This is even better than expected. Better than expected. Look at that.
I've been doing this with my family back east, like 12 or all my brother, my mother. It's great.
Right.
We do this every other day, maybe.
So wait, is that a headphones and what is?
No. I'm wearing my normal. No, these are my normal white headphones.
Oh, okay.
All right.
But now I have I'm just using a portable setup that I have with a regular mic, and then the camera I'm using is a little webcam, so it makes it look a little better than just the FaceTime. Yeah. This is when I'm watching Joe Buck and all these guys do it. They're just using their computers. And I'm like,
well, that's what I'm doing. But I got the laptop in a way
yours actually looks good because you have a good background. Like Brockman and my background's my kitchen.
Well, I was going to ask, where are you?
Are those, what is that? Are those Olafs that you have back there?
Yeah, that's my, I love Olaf. Olaf is my favorite.
I see Olaf over one shoulder.
Oh no, I have a 5-foot Olaf in my other room. I love
Mike, look,
Olaf.
Are you hoarding Windex and Lysol behind you? What's going on?
Let me explain something to everybody.
He's hoarding. Okay. He looks like he's hoarding Olafs, actually. Now,
I'll move the Olaf.
This is why you're
By the way, Mike, hoarding Olaf. What a fancy name.
Great.
Hoarding
Olaf.
Let me write that down.
Hoarding
Olaf.
By the way, 2 days ago, I started feeling a little weird. Jason Feller brought up a great point. Remember how we all got sick after the Super Bowl, Brockman?
Yeah.
We all had coughs and stuff. He thinks we all had it.
Look, man, that's the thing about this, that we just don't even know. Nobody knows, man. And that's the part of the thing that's kind of frightening. It would be great if we could all test ourselves to know if we did.
I know.
Whoever has it, they can be sequestered in a way that's smart so that the rest of us can walk around and do our business. And but don't get me started, man. I mean,
I know.
And this is why you're going to be the dessert every day, Mike. Our show, okay.
Got it.
And by
I'll
the way,
shut my mic. It's come to me. So
you have to shut your mic. Keep your mic on. So here's the thing that let's hash this out. We'll make this part of our show here to wrap things up, to have a conversation about what we're going to do. Mike, I'm up for you having, do you know somebody that would be a good interview or guest or whatever on the show, or the two of us can chit chat together? And the same with you, by the way, I'm going to have Susie come in sometimes and just, shoot it with us. And if Sarah's available, your kid's napping, Chris, let's have her. Let's have her.
I have if you ever wanted to get Karen Evanish type stuff, I have like cops and firemen, EMTs and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike, we're still waiting for Chris Christie. Okay, buddy.
Governor of New Jersey. That you
Actually, like Fauci's married to the ex-mayor's daughter from Livingston.
What?
So are you saying you have a line to Dr. Fauci to call?
If rest in peace, if my father were alive, I would. And my mother actually told me yesterday. She's like, "Oh, she's married to Christine Grady, John Grady's daughter." I'm like, "What?" So of course I Google, I look it up, and it's Christine Grady's the wife. Yeah. So I was like, "Okay, Mom."
This is what we're gonna do. Okay,
Yep.
that we're gonna. If you've got more funny hats, Mike, we'll take as many hats as you want. No, don't waste them all right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to Rich.
Oh my
I'm
God.
already ready.
Many hats, Mike DelTufo.
Indiana DelTufo.
Here's what we're gonna have, Chris.
You stole that one from Nick.
You're gonna have to put something on the wall. We got to do something.
I know. Well, this is a spare bedroom. It's the only thing that has like.
Now, hang on. You want me to doctor up behind me?
What?
You want to leave the Olafs? Is that funny?
Well, I mean, you could leave the Olafs there, and we can,
I'll put it like I want me to put like an Emmy or something.
We're doing it like I'm reaching out to everybody to say, hey, do you want to do this or not? And I've gotten a nice handful of yeses to make me think, all right, let's try and do this Zoom every day, and we'll do it around 11 in the morning, noon our time, Pacific Coast, and it'll be up by the nighttime for people to consume and maybe do overnight on our YouTube feed and chop it up and do it on our Twitter feed. So tomorrow we've got yeses from Bruce Arians and the gamer Booga is going to be on our program tomorrow too.
All right.
I got two interviews.
Nice.
I mean, to get a teenage gamer and the old school Bruce Arians. I mean, we're just running the gamut. We're just trying to get out there for as many people.
Awesome.
It's like the old school podcast days.
You know what I mean? And we'll just zoom around, and Mike, you'll just pop in at the end with your
just let me know
brand of whatever your brand is, and
perfect.
You're hunting for Red October, and you got Olaf's behind you. I had no idea you were a diehard Olaf person.
So I love Olaf.
Okay, who knew? All right, Mike.
Remember, I didn't see Frozen when Josh came in the first time. Had I known that, I would have done like.
Well, Josh Gad, we had.
I know the one time he was on, I hadn't watched it yet. So like after.
Okay, Mike. So that's it for this edition of the Rich Eisen Brockman. Okay,
you don't understand. I'm going out on the boat with this. I forgot I had this. Wait till you see what I do out on the boat.
At the boat, you literally are hunting for Red October.
Don't say anything. I'm not even going to wear this today because I have to do that, and then I won't wear that today.
Good luck, Mike. Good luck.
Please, actually,
it's the only safe place to go.
You out on your boat. What's the name of your boat again? What's the name of it?
Red October.
No, your boat.
There's no name. There's no name.
You have to name your boat. That's the way it goes.
There's no. These are you don't name Rib like the boat I have. The next boat I have, I would name.
I thought every boat gets named. Am I wrong?
No.
That's what I thought. Every boat gets a name.
Mike,
just call it like 6 Emmys or something.
Yeah,
it's actually funny. No, that'd have to be a real boat.
Is that how many? Is that the accurate number of Emmys you have?
Yes.
Okay,
6.
6 Emmys.
I only have 4 here. Because remember, one's broken.
The other two are the ones your ex-wife threw at you and broke?
One's broken and one
got
destroyed in the earthquake. But I do have the certificates. You want to see what a certificate looks like?
Sure.
Watch. Hang on. You guys.
Wow.
This whole thing, by the way.
Look at his kitchen, by the way.
Side of his kitchen is very neat. The left side is a disaster area.
Disaster.
Okay.
That's what they look like. And they're legit. This is a real Emmy win. So in theory, I got 6 trophies, but these counted for 2 of them. But what happened was
a website you can go to where you can print out fake Emmys.
Yeah, you can print. Yeah, you can't print these. They got they have what is not hologram? What's it called? Like the Super Bowl things.
Okay, so now we've just discovered 2 segments. With every interview that I conduct with somebody in their home office, what's on your wall, and then when Mike DelTufo finishes up, what's in Mike DelTufo's house. So already we've seen Olaf's, Windex wipes, certificates, 2 hats. I mean,
and Rich, if you really want me to, and I can do this, I could get a log, take a mic, take a camera, and do the tour. I could actually leave here and go.
One thing at a time. One thing at a time.
Walk and talk, okay? And,
oh my goodness.
I got to do my census.
Okay.
Great. Thanks,
all right.
Mike.
So that's it for this edition of the Rich Eisen Show. Thanks to Kurt Warner and then you guys. And I just really want to thank everybody else who's putting this show together. How's the baby, Chris, before we go?
He's doing great. We figured out his witching hour is like 6 a.m. So, I was hoping to sleep till 8 today,
Right.
and that didn't happen. But we had a 3 diaper change in the course of like 20 minutes this morning. And then he chugged like 5 ounces of breast milk, and he's been napping since like 10 o'clock.
Oh, my God. You're not supposed to say out loud how long they've been sleeping, right? I'm so sorry to bring that up.
Oh, is that not a thing? Why is that a thing?
Oh, you just
wake up.
Don't jinx it.
Yeah, you're crossing the streams.
Let's
my bad.
Lie. Don't even mention it, right?
It's my fault. Delete the race.
And then what's the rest of your day like, Mike?
Me?
Yeah.
When I get done with this, I do a Facebook Live every day from my house that my friends watch. They love it. My buddy produces it, Sean. It's amazing. And it's kind of just, I talk about news. I don't go political. I just stay straight.
Okay.
I'm kind of and I just make people laugh. And it's like what I normally try to do with you guys.
All right. Well, thanks for taking this edition of the Rich Eisen Show. We'll see how this one plays back and see you on Tuesday.